Thank you, Chairperson, for the day. Most respected Chief Electoral Officer, Nagaland, Shri SHASHANK SHEKHAR IAS, Assistant Director, Press Information Bureau, Mr. KOHIMA, respected friends from the press, radio, very good morning all of you. I feel, on a personal note, that it is the best time to have a program like this since the elections are just announced 2-3 days back. So as we all know, Nagaland is going on poll 27th of February and we are expecting to have the counting on 2nd of March. This is my 10th year in Nagaland as a civil servant, and the very first year I joined, 2013-14, as a probationary intern. We had the parliament elections of 2014 happening, and I was in charge of this activity called Sveep. I'm sure we all know what is the full form of Sveep, that is systematic voters education and electoral participation. India is a democratic country, whether we like it or not, and all the states in India, we have our elections in different years, different times. But the scenarios in different states are very, very different. You have states like Kashmir, where the government tries their best to have the voting percentage go maybe 45% or 50% because people don't come out to vote. The reason could be the security reasons or anything. And on the other hand, we have states like Nagaland, where the voting percentage is too high. And it's one way it's heartening to see our citizens come forward and participate in the electoral process. On the other hand, we also doubt our conscience that are we going ahead with a free and fair election. Every time elections happen, we do think that we do advocate for free and fair elections. And that kind of a nara, you say nara in Hindi, it's like a slogan. You keep telling each and every day, free and fair election. But what exactly is free and fair election? Free and fair election is not only the absence of any law and order issues. If you don't have any law and order issues happening in the state, but at the same time, people are not exercising their franchisee to vote by themselves on their own will and conscience, then it's not free and fair. The free and fair elections happen only when the voters of our country, of our state, they come forward on their own will. Eligible voters, they come and vote based on their conscience without any influence of liquor, money or anything. We all are in Nagaland, or we all do work in Nagaland. So there is no point in just saying that everything is like 100% perfect.
We had a press conference where I was there, CEO office, other officials were there on 19th. Some of our media friends were there also. So I'm happy to be interacting with the media representatives again. I would have liked to make a more structured speech or address, but as I mentioned, especially after the announcement, so many things come up that I could only write down some thoughts, some points which I would like to share with you. So my apologies if it doesn't look very consistent or very structured. We don't have to emphasize, we all know the importance of media in a democracy. It is often called the fourth pillar, our DC also mentioned. There's legislature, there is executive, the judiciary, and then the media. My own experience with media in Nagaland has been very positive, and I appreciate the very positive role they have played, not only in elections, coverage of elections, but overall, whenever we have interacted over the years, my own experience as CEO also, and also in other departments, whenever we have wanted any positive work taken up at various levels, that has been covered very well by the media. So the very fundamental role of media to our understanding is that this is a medium through which we reach out to a larger audience, to the common people, to different stakeholders of society, not only for elections, but in general. So for government also, an interaction with the media is a very important thing, and That is the primary role of media, which we understand that, as I said, it is the medium through which we are able to convey our priorities, things which we feel are important to a much larger audience. Some very basic things, I'm sure you know these. Vartalap, I don't know how many of you will understand. It's a very good word, sophisticated word. Many of the Indian languages are very rich in vocabulary, and many times those words are difficult to find exact translations in English. Vartalap is something like a discussion. So a general point came to my mind when I was sitting there, that very often it happens, especially now with the growth of social media, that what someone has said is misunderstood, wrongly communicated. So Indian civilization, as you know, is a very old civilization. So many centuries back also there was this tradition of debates. I'm saying this because it may have a relevance even now. So in that debate, a very basic thing was, if I say something and you are responding to it, or you say something and I'm just, that's how a debate works, isn't it? You say something, I responded, I may agree, I may not agree. Especially if it's a debate, I may not agree and I say why I don't agree. So a very basic feature was, if you have said something, before I respond, I have to repeat what I understood of what you said. And then I have to ask you, is this what you said? And only if you agree that yes, that's what I said, that's what I meant, then I respond.
Information on social media, one would be to, as a reader, one would be to check reliable source. Is the source reliable? What I'm reading, is it reliable or not? Then check the source of the information. From where did this information come from? Okay? And then look for the author also, the writer. If I'm reading a very dhamaka news written by somebody whom I don't know, I may have to think twice then, is it really credible? But for example, say Okinjit had written something, and it's a very masala type of thing, but I would think twice if Okinjit has written it, he is a senior officer, he is a senior journalist, so there must be something, you know. So that kind of checking also we need to do. Because anonymous, say for example the profile photo, search for the profile photo also. Because if I am a fake writer, obviously my photo will not be in my profile. It will be some celebrity pictures or some, I don't know, blank or something like that. So that's also one of the ways to check the authenticity of your source, okay? Then read beyond the headlines. Because like I've discussed earlier, headlines can be very misleading, and I'm sure you have read today's newspaper also. What we do is we quickly scan the headline and then finish, we know everything. But actually we have not read the whole story. So I'm sure you have also come across situations like that where most of the time you're reading only the headline but you have not gone beyond the first paragraph. So that's also one of the ways to combat. Then sponsored content, especially in Facebook or Instagram, you'll see a lot of sponsored content, advertisements which are not true, and if you click then it will lead to some other misleading sites. That's very common. Then these days, we have to check the authenticity of the image also. I think in our state of Nagaland, we are yet to go to that extent, but if we're talking about news, but even images can be misleading. It can be fake. Those are doctored, this thing. And I think you've come across many small snippets on social media where, for example, something happened, but then I will be posting one old video and say that this happened in Dimapur yesterday, something like that. But actually it is a very Purana kind of, you know, so common. That's one of the easiest ways to spread misinformation.
She agreed to attend our program at the very last minute, and I thank Madam Sharan Longsari, Joint CEO, Government of Nagaland, for attending as a resource person. After that, I thank particularly the KOHIMA Press Club, all members, and the President, our sister Atono and Elish, and then all the other members present here also for making this program a success. I thank the IPR, Government of Nagaland, and then Durdashan Kendra, KOHIMA, then All India Radio, KOHIMA, and all the other print and electronic media friends present here and also the social media channels who we felt that they should also be invited because this is a social media age. So we have requested this to Dimapur 24/7 and some other social media channels also to come and attend our program. And last but not least, I would like to thank our friend Alice Yosu. She has just arrived at the end of the program. And with that also, I would like to thank our staff of Press Information Bureau and the CBC, KOHIMA Central Bureau of Communication, which is under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Thank you everybody.
जो मतदान करे ना उसकी देशभक्ति अधूरी है. Namaskar and once again a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honorable chief guest, guest of honor, invited dignitaries, special guests and delegates. It is my pleasure to welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen, to the one-day media workshop Vartalap 2023, organized by the Press Information Bureau, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India. Press Information Bureau, as the nodal agency of Government of India, has always functioned as an interface between the government and the media, providing feedbacks and advices to the government on communication strategies best suited to meet the needs of the media and keep the government informed of the public perception about the policies and programs as reflected in the media.
Now it is a great privilege for me to extend a warm and sincere thanks on behalf of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and all of us here today to our Chief Guest, Sri V. SHASHANK, the Chief Electoral Officer of Nagaland, for his stimulating and very timely remarks and for his gracious presence. He has long demonstrated his commitment towards better administration and towards an efficient electoral process. And his remarks show the scope of his thinking towards a free, fair and successful electoral process in the state. Thank you, sir, for making time to be with us today. I also extend my sincere thanks to the guest of honor, Sri Shanavasi, the Deputy Commissioner of KOHIMA. We are truly honored to have you here in our midst. We thank you for sharing your valuable experiences and your inspiring address. I also thank the Department of Information and Public Relations, the Election Department, DVK KOHIMA, AIR KOHIMA for their kind support and participation in today's workshop. I also thank both the learned resource person, Madam Masangla, Joint Director of DIPR, and Madam Sharon Longchari, Joint CEO, who will be joining us in a short while. I must mention my deep appreciation to the KOHIMA Press Club and the Directorate of Information and Public Relations for partnering with us, for hand-holding us in organizing this Vartalap and giving us the opportunity to share this platform of interaction and knowledge sharing. I also thank all the my distinguished media friends representing different media organizations who have joined us today. We are very privileged and honored to see some very respected names in the field of media. And we also greatly encouraged to see many young and brilliant journalists. We thank you all for your active involvement and constant support. Friends, all of your gracious presence have really enhanced the importance of this event. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir.
The press shall not accept any kind of inducement, financial or otherwise. The press shall not indulge in canvassing of a candidate or a party. The press shall not accept or publish any advertisement at the cost of public money, government money, and in regarding achievements of a party or the government in power. The press shall observe all the directives, orders issued by the Election Commission, the returning officer or the CEO. So next is the norms of journalism. These are all like gist, okay? I think they're handouts, right? We've printed out handouts of all this, more elaborate version of these guidelines. So I'm just giving you a quick gist of some of the guidelines. So this is the norms of journalistic conduct 2020 as issued by NBSA. The newspaper's responsibilities specifically mention marketing initiative on supplement or special edition to distinguish from various reports, should not misconstrue or misquote statements, especially when if you're covering an election campaign, right? Project the true spirit of what is being conveyed. News items indicating names of voters on caste basis and supporters of candidates of particular political party, paid news. So I was reading this somewhere, if you want to differentiate between what is news and what is paid news. So news would be something like, a 45-year-old man met with an accident, a bike accident on a stretch of very bad road in, say, Chanmari colony. So paid news would read something like, a 45-year-old Dalit man met an accident on a road made by a Hindu contractor. That kind of a thing. So that's how you can change and you bring the political aspect to your articles, right? So news published in competing newspapers with similar context. That's a telltale sign of paid news. Two newspapers publishing same news with verbatim published for consideration. That is also a suggestion of paid news. Next slide, please. News items in favor of one party. Paid news, and it's not a hidden fact. We know several of our news agencies, and from when you watch their news, we can tell which party affiliation they are. So news items in favor of one party. Projecting a candidate's success in election, that's also considered paid news. News on campaign involving film stars is not necessarily a paid news, depending on how you cover the article. Ensure balance in publishing report interview of candidates. Newspapers free to make honest assessment of prospects of candidates or parties. Not paid news as long as it's not established that consideration passed on for such publication. Of course, there are certain guidelines that within that 48 hours time frame before the polling, that for exit polls and certain news articles not to be carried, that will be covered later. Newspapers shall not publish news survey predicting victory of any political party without verification.